Hey everyone, welcome to Sthirvana. I'm Udit. I'm not an avid reader, but along the way, I've read some books that have left a lasting impression on me, or have at least given me something to think about or learn. So I thought, why not start a series where I discuss the books that I liked reading and the key takeaways from them. I want to talk about books every month or so, and I think this will give me an incentive to get back into reading. So to kick off the series, I want to talk about a book that I read a couple of years ago, but it has come back into conversations often. It has highly influenced my thought process, and I have recommended it to family and friends. This book is Why Buddhism is True by Robert Wright. Now, if your first thought is, I don't want to be convinced to practice a certain religion, don't worry. This video is not about Buddhism and its promotion as a religion. This video is about a book that I read and the learnings that I want to share with you. The author Robert Wright tries to explore the Buddhist philosophies through a lens of evolutionary psychology and neuroscience. He argues that Buddhism has a pulse on the modern day human predicament of suffering, anxiety, and existential questions. In the same vein, he craftily takes concepts from the Buddhist philosophy and proves how the modern day science backs that up. In the end, the author is basically laying out his argument and politely suggesting the individual and societal benefits of meditation and mindfulness. It is yours to take away from it what you see as beneficial. This also echoes what the Dalai Lama said. Don't use what you learn from Buddhism to be a better Buddhist. Use it to become a better whatever you already are. So let's get into the 5 things that I took away from this book. So the first takeaway is natural selection and feelings. The author starts the book by describing the red pill and the blue pill scene in The Matrix. I hope you've seen The Matrix. If you haven't, the short version is that the blue pill will take the main character Neo back to the life he was living, but the red pill will open his mind to the true reality and make him see the world for what it really is. He obviously took the red pill. This to me was a great hook and a great analogy to discuss evolutionary psychology, that is, how our brain is wired to mislead us or even enslave us due to natural selection. Now, natural selection's primary goal is to actually help propagate genes to the next generation, and it does that by prioritizing activities such as eating, making love, competing, etc. The brain helps us pursue these activities through feelings. Pursuing these activities makes us feel good, but only for a moment. That is because if these feelings were everlasting, we would never pursue these activities again, and hence the genes will not propagate forward. Buddha's main message was also that the pleasures we seek evaporate quickly and they leave us thirsting for more. For me personally, just realizing this fact was important. It's not that by realizing this fact my life has immediately changed, but just the knowing that we are constantly running on this hedonic treadmill is a perspective that I did not have previously. With this new perspective, I question whether I need this new shiny thing. I question whether I need another piece of dessert. While I might not be always successful, I am moving towards a balance. I'm trying to attain Sthirvana. The second takeaway is the non-existence of self. In the book, the author introduces the idea that there is no self or that there is no I. I am personally trying to wrap my head around this concept, but I think it is an interesting perspective to think about. In the discourse on the non-self, the Buddha talks about the 5 aggregates that makes us human and define the human experience. These aggregates are the physical form of the body, the basic emotions, perceptions of sights and sound, mental formulations which include more complex emotions, inclinations, etc., and finally consciousness. He also further discusses that the idea of self relates to control and permanence. So now if I ask you, do you control your 5 aggregates? If you should say that you should feel like XYZ or you should feel like ABC, do your feelings immediately change? For most people, feelings cannot be controlled. Especially bad feelings, they tend to linger on for more than we want them to. In the same vein, feelings are also not permanent. Feelings are fleeting. So the principles of control and permanence, when applied to the 5 aggregates, point to the notion that they do not qualify for the self, and hence no self exists. However, as we read on in the book, There are other counter arguments and other perspectives on this notion. I think this concept is too deep to cover in a few minutes. However, I think it is worth exploring, and I think it's more metaphorical and directional in nature. If you think about feelings like anxiety, they cause pain and suffering. However, if you tend to think about them not as good and bad, and not as part of yourself, then I think you can lessen your pain. Therefore, the idea of self, when given up, might help reduce suffering. My third takeaway is that feelings are illusionary. We have discussed that we are driven to do things by natural selection through feelings. As part of evolution, good feelings and bad feelings were mechanisms to drive organisms to avoid things or approach things which were relatively bad or good for them. As a result, feelings can actually be illusionary. Let me explain. In the ancient times, good feelings were attached to eating something sweet, something like fruit, which was limited but available. However, in the modern era, sugar is readily available and detrimental to the health because of overconsumptions, because of feelings. Similarly, natural selection forces us to care about what others think about us. This is because in the ancient times, there were a lot of social interactions, and your impression was directly proportional to your chances of reproduction and hence propagation of your genes. In the modern day, however, this weight can actually be overwhelming and counterproductive. The author summarizes that the feelings can be illusionary in three major ways. Firstly, that the feelings were designed in such a way that even in the natural environment, they did not depict reality. They were just designed so that genes can be propagated further. The second is that since we do not live in our natural environment, these feelings are even less reliable. They can actually be detrimental to your survival. Think road rage if you have to. Finally, underlying it all is the happiness delusion. We are always striving for something better, but we overestimate how much the better would last. The better quickly fleets away. So what is my takeaway? The understanding that feelings do work to our benefit. However, there are certain feelings that need to be kept in check and don't require obedience. That is hard to do because, as the author says, feelings were designed to be followed and not questioned. My fourth takeaway is actually a question of who is in charge. Recent scientific experiments validate the Buddhist viewpoint that whatever is perceived by the brain is not necessarily the reality. These experiments are called the split brain experiments, and in this, the patients underwent surgery to separate the two halves of the brain. This was intentionally done so that information can be isolated to individual hemispheres by exposing it to one of the eyes only. These experiments concluded with the fact that the brain's half that was not exposed to the information concocted narratives to make believe consistency. This kind of suggests that we are not in control, that there is no CEO. What is in control is a system of modules that take command based on whatever situation we are in. Furthermore, these modules are driven by feelings. So feelings are not only controlling us, they're also controlling our decisions. We think we are being rational by opposing a feeling. However, we're actually fortifying another feeling. For example, we convince ourselves that we should buy these shoes because these are great value. However, the definition of value itself is being driven by feeling. So what is the big takeaway from me? For a person who thinks he's highly rational, this was an important revelation for me as well. So how do we control all these feelings? My fifth and final takeaway is that of meditation and mindfulness. If there's one message in the book, it is to practice meditation. I have learned that by meditation, we can become more aware of our feelings, and when combined with reason, we can control our decisions. I've also understood that meditation helps us to become more objective and enables us to change our own perception. However, the one question I've always struggled with meditation is that how do I meditate? What is the right technique? The breakthrough message that I got from this book is that of default mode network. When we are generally meditating, our mind wanders and we wander with it. This book has made me realize that the goal of meditation is to realize that we are in that default mode network and to come back to our meditation practice. This can be achieved through concentrating on our breath. I have applied this insight in my personal meditation practice, and I will talk more about this meditation in my next video. So these were my 5 takeaways from this book. Remember, at Sthirvana, we believe in stability and balance. Therefore, I'm not going to take on all 5 areas. My primary focus is meditation. If you are interested in hearing about my 30 days of prioritizing meditation, please do subscribe. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and your takeaways from this book, or if you have any other book suggestions as well. Thank you for being on this journey with me. I look forward to your comments. In the end, I hope you enjoyed the video and you're taking back at least one valuable thing with you. Thank you, and see you soon.